So I wanted to talk today about goal setting, creative goal setting. I decided recently to set myself some goals just because I was feeling a little bit like directionless, listless, aimless, and I watched two YouTube videos recently. Two YouTube videos about goal setting, or that mentioned goal setting, and I was kind of inspired by them. So I thought I'd talk a bit about that today. So the first one that I saw was quite a while ago now, maybe a few weeks, couple months ago, and that is Hannah Witton's video about, she made like a bingo card of goals for the rest of the year. The intention of that being that you don't have to get a full house, it's kind of more of a, which of these goals do I fancy doing? These are all options kind of thing. And I was kind of like, that maybe sounds like a good idea, maybe I could do that, but I didn't really have enough goals to do that. And then more recently, in the last couple of weeks, I watched a video by, I can't remember the name of the YouTuber, I'm gonna have to like put it on the screen, put it in the description, but she is an author and I gather some kind of like writing coach. And for those of you who don't know, I was a writer before I was ever a knitter, and I suppose I still consider myself a writer. Definitely I do still want to write. I would like to get back to writing. There we go, that's how we're phrasing that. One thing that she suggested to, I think, one of her writing coach clients was to have like a physical representation of it's kind of like a habit tracker basically, but like a physical one rather than one that you write down in a journal. She suggested putting like pretty rocks in a jar, and just something about that idea just tickled my brain in a way that was like, oh, I think that could work. I can imagine that being really satisfying. So, and then I decided to combine that with the bingo card idea. I was feeling a bit aimless, a bit directionless. Like, okay, so I'm working on building up the YouTube channel. I'm working on making art. Those are very non-concrete goals. You know, what am I actually aiming for? So that's what I'm doing. I'm working on building up the YouTube channel. I'm working on developing my art style and making more art, working towards selling some art maybe, hopefully. But what is the actual aim? Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense. Anyway, let's talk about the goals. So I made myself a bingo card. There are still some that are empty. I've realised that I've made room for 25 goals. I apparently don't have 25 goals right now. I'm going to think more on what I want to put in those. But actually first, before I made the goals, I started brainstorming. So on a separate piece of paper, I kind of just jotted down ideas for the goals that I wanted to set. Sort of, what could I aim for? And the thing is that I didn't want to be too harsh on myself. I didn't want to put pressure on myself, because in the past that's not worked out too well for me. It has often just made me stress about it and procrastinate on the goal rather than actually wanting to work on it. So I really wanted to emphasize setting myself goals that I would be excited to want to work on. After I did my brainstorming session, I kind of looked over the goals and was like, oh, I think I can see a theme here. So that's why I've written at the top of this, exploration, development and discovery, and to live more creatively, because those are kind of the themes. That's kind of the through line of all the goals that I am setting myself. So some of these are to do with writing, some of them are to do with YouTube or art, some of them are just to do with like well-being, like mental well-being, emotional well-being, and fun and excitement, you know, bringing joy into my life, because that is going to help me be more creative, and it's going to help me create space in my brain to have more ideas, to think about projects and develop those ideas and all those sorts of things. Because it's all well and good going, right, I'm going to make a piece of art, but if there's nothing going on in my brain, okay, what art am I going to make? And my brain's just like, so mental well-being is going to enable the creativity, the exploration, the discovery. It's going to enable the art. It's going to enable the making videos, it's going to enable the writing and all those kinds of things. And, you know, it's a lot about kind of like finding freedom, finding joy, letting go of pressure, letting go of the need for everything to be perfect or setting myself really high standards that I can never meet, that I just end up procrastinating. So I have a bunch of things on my bingo card, and some of these things have numbers. So for example, go for 48 walks. At the time of writing this, there were 24 weeks left in 2025. It's been a week or two now, so that has gone down, but I've been trying to keep track of how many of these things I've done. So go for it, 48 walks, for example. Have read 26 books total this year. Oh, my camera needs charging. Shoot. Do I have a wire long enough? Here we are, this one. This one should be long enough. Hang on. Oh, no! Okay, we're back, hopefully. Okay, anyway, so what I wanted to say today was, yeah, some of these things, for example, 48 journaling sessions, 72 runs, 48 walks, 48 writing/brainstorming sessions. I thought it could be fun to track those in a more physical way. And as I said, I liked the idea of the pretty rocks in a jar, but I was like, where am I going to get pretty rocks? Where do I store them in the meantime? And then I thought, beads are basically just pretty rocks. So I went on Vinted and I found someone selling a bunch of... Please focus on that. Hello. Beads. And I got some in fun colours. These ones are kind of green. And I also have these ones which I bought ages ago for a knitting project, and I didn't use all of them. Anyway, so what I thought I would do is I have a really pretty shell. My aunt actually bought me this from New Zealand. I thought she'd like me to mention that. It normally is just like in my bureau on display, but I thought it could be useful to store all the beads in before I put them in jars. I do like to often keep jars that we've used. These are probably a bit big. I do have some old herb and spice containers that are a bit smaller, so I could use those. I also found in the cupboard these old, they're like mini whiskey bottles. I was given these secondhand just because someone thought I would like the bottles, and yes, they are very cute bottles. My original plan was going to be to make decorative fake potion bottles with them. I can still do that. I can absolutely still do that. I could use any of those. I would want to get the labels off of these or these if I were to use them. Or, as I was getting this out of the bureau, I realised that I have these. These belonged to my grandma. They're sherry glasses, I think. They're very pretty. So, you know, maybe I could stand them on some labels and put the beads in there, because yeah, these beads are a bit smaller than I thought they were going to be. They are tiny. So probably 48 beads is not going to take up very much room in a jar like this. But yeah, the beads just arrived and I'm excited. And yeah, I'm going to pour them into the shell now. Oh, okay, there's more packaging inside. Ah, they're tiny. They're tiny. They're so tiny. There are some teeny tiny holes in this shell, and I've just felt a couple of beads jump out of them into my lap onto my foot. So that's gonna be fun to clean up later. Oh, these are so pretty. Oh no! Whoops. There are beads all over my carpet now. And when I say all over my carpet, I also mean all over me. They're a lot bigger. So yeah, the idea is now that if I say do a writing/brainstorming session, maybe this is the little glass that I'm going to use for the writing/brainstorming. So I'm going to take one of these beads, and I know that I've done in the last couple of weeks 4 writing/brainstorming sessions, I believe, so I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And now I have 4 tiny little beads in there. Meanwhile, I've taken, I don't know, maybe 2 walks. So let's pop 1, 2 in there. And then that's how I can track my progress. The beads are a bit smaller than I thought they would be, so it's actually quite hard to see them in these glasses. So I don't know how effective this is going to be. Maybe I would be better switching to herb jars, but we'll see. I think I'm going to set up somewhere a little area, probably in here somewhere, but I'm not quite sure where. Set up a little area where I can display my goals and have my shelf full of beads and all of my glasses or jars or whatever, where I can put them after I've done the thing. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. I decided to make space on this shelf for my little goal tracking display. And I put my bingo card of goals up right next to it. I still wasn't sure whether to do the jars or the pretty glasses, so I decided to try both, which meant I needed to get the labels off the jars. This worked better on some of them than on others. I then ripped up some card to make new labels so I'd know which container was tracking which goal. I tried both putting the label underneath the container and also attaching it to a little wooden stick poking out the container. I decided I liked the first option better. It is a bit hard to see the beads in the pretty glasses, so I did try this setup with the jars instead, but the jars were just a bit too big for the purpose. This was fine because, well, the glasses are prettier. Here's the setup I eventually settled on. And here's a closer look at some of my goals. Right, so I've done 4 writing sessions recently. 1, 2, 3. I've been on 2 runs this week. 1, 2. And then, did I track last week's runs? I can't remember. Walks, I have been for a walk, I think. cleaning, I think I did a big clean since the last time I did that. I haven't journaled. It is now the end of September and I've filmed the majority of this video, I think mid-July. So yeah, life happened. So because of the gap in between setting the goals and filming this update, which I think was meant to be just like an explanation of why I'm setting the goals that I'm setting, kind of my thought process behind it, I'm instead able to give a bit of an update on how the goals are going, my thoughts on what I could have or should have done differently around the goal setting, what was good, what was not so good, because you know I've had some time now to try and work on this and see how it goes, and I'm not sure how well it's going, to be honest. So for one thing, I often forget to go and update the little bead jar situation. I keep forgetting to do that, and then when I do go and do it, it's like, well, these past couple of weeks, what have I done this past couple of weeks? How many runs did I do? How many walks did I do? How much cleaning did I do? I can't remember. So that's not great. The other sort of little criticism I have with that system is that the beads that I've chosen to use are quite small, so it's quite hard to see the progress I'm making. It's not as satisfying as I would have liked it to be. It's hard to look at the beads in the jar and go, oh look, good progress, because I'm looking at it going, well, that's only a couple of beads. It's more than a couple of beads, but it only looks like a couple of beads, you know. It doesn't look like much. It's not very satisfying to see it like grow, because with the beads being so small, you would have to put in a lot of beads in order for it to look like I've made progress. Do you see what I mean? So yeah, it's not been as motivating as I thought it would be, but maybe if I'd chosen something other than tiny beads, maybe it would have worked better. Also, I think having it just in that corner over there, I forget to look at it quite a lot. So I thought having the goals up where I could see them would be good, but like I can't read them from here. So how much am I actually reminding myself of my goals? It's reminding me that I have goals because I can read the 2025 goals bit at the top. I just can't actually read the individual goals from here. What else have I got on my notes? The idea was not to do all of the goals, but I think I have maybe set myself too many to keep track of. Like there are a handful that stick in my head that I know I need to work towards. So a lot of the writing goals, I have been working towards the writing goals, but then I've just looked at the sheet just now to update it, and I'm like, oh, I forgot I made that goal, and I forgot I made this goal, and I forgot I made this other goal, and things like that. So yeah, it's just too many to keep in my head, and with it being just a bit too far away for me to read, / a bit out of the way. The whole point of having it up there is so that I don't have to keep track of it in my head, because there are too many goals for me to track in my head. So yeah, there's that. Also, I think some of the goals are a bit too ambitious. Yeah, so for example, the 100 days of reduced phone use. I did really well the first week after I set the goal. So well. I had so little phone use in that first week. But since then, like, it was like great, and then just took a sudden nosedive, and I just have not recovered since then. My phone use has been abysmal lately. I am ashamed how much doom scrolling I'm doing at the moment. It's not even like productive phone use, it's just like scrolling for the sake of scrolling, barely even reading what I'm looking at, just kind of filling time doing nothing. So that's not great. That's not good for my creativity or my mental health or for my productivity. It's not really very good for anything. What good is it doing? What good is it doing? And yeah, there's just quite a few that require like a bit more kind of planning, I guess. Some of them are quite involved. So like the writing ones are quite involved. All of the other, you know, I want to do this thing regularly ones are quite involved. And then, yeah, some of them aren't very well defined. So even when I wrote the goal about doing at least 10 what I called day trip adventures, even when I wrote it, I was just like, I'm not really sure what that means. But I felt like, at the time, I felt like I would know it when it happened, if that makes sense. So I think the kind of thing I was thinking was like spontaneous little day trips, like meeting up with friends on short notice, or deciding only a few days in advance or on the day of that I would like go somewhere and do something. But then it's like, how short notice does it have to be considered spontaneous? Like something planned the week before, something kind of like different and exciting, like does that count even if it was planned a week, 2 weeks in advance? Or if it isn't a full day trip, or if, I don't know, I didn't. And then also, does it count if I did it before I set this goal? Am I doing the goal from the time that I set the goal in mid-July, or am I counting this from the beginning of the year? I don't know, and I didn't know when I set the goal. I think I just thought I would figure it out, and I haven't figured it out. So I might actually replace that goal with something else, because yes, I want to go on more like little adventures, encourage me to like get out of my comfort zone, go places, do things, see people, have a nice time kind of thing. So I think I might replace that goal with something else. Because I did leave some blanks, because at the time I couldn't think of more goals that I wanted to work towards, and I have since thought of some more. However, I've since forgotten them, so you will have seen I filmed a little bit of B-roll where I was adding in a new goal to repair at least 10 items of clothing. I'm sure I had more goals. I'm sure I had at least 3 more goals. I've got 2 spots, and then the goal that I think I might replace, because who the heck knows when I've accomplished that one, or if I accomplished that one, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like I needed some more easy wins on there. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the goals I made. Oh, I wanted to show you the thing I made out of handspun, the thing I knitted out of handspun, but I actually am not sure where it is at the moment. My craft room is a mess. I found it quite difficult to balance in coming up with these goals. On one hand, motivating myself with these goals, and on the other hand, not putting too much pressure on myself, because that is the fastest way to demotivate me. So I was trying to come up with things that excited me. And obviously in the couple of months since I've come up with these goals, the things that I'm excited about have changed. Some of the goals I made around videos, making videos, now don't feel as exciting, because they feel like they're putting pressure on me, because I've ended up accidentally taking some time away from YouTube. It now feels like there's not enough time left in the year for me to do some of the things that I said I would do in those goals. So again, I might change those, because yeah, I'm looking for goals that excite me and motivate me. I'm not looking to put pressure on myself and make myself feel ashamed for not doing them. But also, it's a bit of a fine line between accountability and, I want to hold myself accountable for these things, but also I don't want to hold myself to things if the failure is only going to demotivate me. I feel like it's cheating almost to change them and say, actually, well, that's not doable anymore, so I'll change it. But that feels far more realistic and far more conducive to actually doing something. But yeah, so there's still 3 months left in the year, so there is still time for goal setting for this year, if that is something that you're interested in. I do hope I have inspired you to maybe set some more creative goals. I don't know if this has been very inspiring at all. But also, yeah, things change, things don't always happen as we expect them to, and maybe it's fine to change our goals if changing our goals would motivate us. Maybe it's still good to partially accomplish a goal, even if you don't fully accomplish it. It's good to give ourselves some grace and all that, Let me know what strategies you have for setting goals while not making it overwhelming and putting too much pressure on yourself. Yeah, alright, okay, I'll stop rambling now. Okay, just quickly before I sign off, I did just want to mention that I am going to be doing my 1000 subscriber celebration video soon, and it's a Q&A, so if you have any questions for me, put them down in the comments or on one of my community posts, or even ask me on Instagram. Whatever you like, just, you know, send me whatever questions you have for me, and I'll maybe see about answering them in my Q&A video. Thank you so much for watching. Oh gosh, what's my outro? It's been so long. What do I say? I can't remember. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please leave a like and a comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Please feel free to check out my other videos, and I'll be back with another one soon. Alright. Happy crafting!